Hi, this is Carl with another SOP video for managed service providers. Last time I mentioned that you have to massage your service board and actually, pay attention to everything that's inside there and kind of get it cleaned up. And I said that we'd talk about managing the backlog. So first of all, what is backlog? One of the key elements that you should put into every service ticket is the time estimate within that service ticket. Okay, so let's say that somebody is creating tickets, but they have no idea how long it's going to take. Usually that's going to be a super entry-level technician or a non-technical admin created the ticket. That's totally fine. Absolutely no problem with that. For us, what we always did is make sure that the person who has no idea what they're doing, technically, just puts in a 1 hour time estimate, okay? It's critical that every time anybody in your company touches a ticket, they check all of the things they can, the status, the time estimate, the priority, and make sure that those things sound right. So if a technician who's even good, doesn't have to be great, any good technician should be able to open a ticket and have some idea whether or not the time looks right. So that's the first thing you got to do, is make sure every technician is empowered to look at the time. And if they make a change, if they say, well, this is clearly not a 1 hour ticket, this is a 15-minute thing, that's cool. They need to make that change and make a note that that's what they did in the internal notes on that ticket. That way, every time somebody touches a ticket, it becomes more and more accurate. And that is how we make sure that the time estimate is correct. So the backlog is simply, when you add up all of the outstanding time in every ticket, you get a number. So that's your backlog, 100 hours, 1,000 hours, whatever it happens to be. And I don't know what it is, because it depends on how many clients you have, how busy your system is, what kind of stuff constitutes a ticket. But you should be able to figure out consistently how much time is inside your business, which is to say how much time has been requested within your ticketing system, and that is your backlog. So backlog is a beautiful thing. Backlog is all the work that you have to do for clients that guarantees that you can keep the doors open for at least that much time, whether that constitutes a week, a month, a year. So everybody needs to be able to correct that time. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that if time estimates change dramatically, somebody needs to put a note in there and they need to fix that. Because here's what happens. Sometimes a problem goes sideways, right? You're going to do a very simple printer install and something goes wrong, and instead of being a 15-minute job, it's a 2-hour job because of whatever. Insert words here. Well, you can't have a 15-minute estimate on a job that's already logged 2 hours of time. So that time estimate has to change. And this is okay, it's not cheating. There is no cheating here if everybody with good intentions is making the system more accurate. So don't have negative time estimates, because if you say the time estimate is 15 minutes but you've actually already worked 2 hours, the remaining time is negative 1.75 hours, and that just doesn't make any sense. So keep those time estimates as accurate as possible, keep them updated as much as possible, allow everybody to have the authority to change those time estimates. Now, big picture, why do we care? Well, every technician has a billability calculation, which is to say, let's just say that somebody's 80% billable, which is awesome, by the way. So 80% billable means that they're going to be able to work 32 hours a week with productive labor towards service agreements. Whether that is a managed service contract, hourly, doesn't matter. It's 32 productive billable hours, whether an invoice ever actually goes out. So that means if somebody's 80% productive, you're going to pay them 40 hours for every 32 hours that they can actually deliver. This is important because let's say that you're doing a job estimate and your team as a whole got somebody who's 40% billable and somebody who's 60 and somebody who's 80, right? You got to figure out what your average is and then That helps you have accurate time estimates for the project. Not just how many hours it's going to take, how many hours do you have to buy in order to sell that much labor. So that's critically important, but it requires that you use the system and you actually make these kinds of calculations. Furthermore, when you look at your entire team, let's say that you've got 3 people who are 80% billable. Okay, so that's 96 hours basically in a week. And then you've got 3 people who are 50% billable. Okay, well, that's another 60 hours that you have available in the week. So roughly you're just over 150 hours that you can go through in a week. And that's with 6 technicians. Okay, cool. So what's your backlog? If your backlog is, say, 500 hours, that means you've got enough work in the system to keep everybody going for just over 3 weeks. Okay? So that's critically important. I don't know what the backlog is for your business. Only you can figure that out by using your ticketing system. And you need to keep track of that. In fact, I would put it on a wall chart somewhere so that you've got an idea of what your backlog is. If you suddenly get 15 brand new tickets and they're all like an hour or 2 hours each, that's a significant hit to your backlog if you can only produce 150 billable hours in a week. On the other hand, if you can plow through 200 hours a week and you get 1 or 2 new tickets at a time, then you can take care of those very easily. So the backlog is very, very important because it's literally like measuring the pulse rate of your business. And when you get a bunch of tickets in at one time, the service manager can make rational decisions about scheduling technicians, giving people time off, making sure that we've got projects scheduled around the work that has to be done inside the ticketing system, right? And also, the salesperson can work with the service manager to make determinations about when new projects can get started. If you've got this kind of a backlog, you need to be realistic and say, hey, we can't start this week or next week, but the week after that, we should have no problem getting going. And you got to work that into your hourly system. Because even if you have, let's say, 150 or 200 hours available, if you've got 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week that have to go to project labor, you have to take that into account as well. Bottom line is, keeping track of your backlog is a very important metric that will help you make good decisions about your company, about your labor force, about when people get to take days off, about when we can schedule projects, right? And it also, to be honest, it gives you a good solid foundation to say, look, we are really busy for the next 3 weeks. We are rock solid. So, you know what? I'm not really going to have a discussion of why we should give you a break, right? We're busy enough without having to give you a price break in order to stay busy 3, 4, 5 weeks from now. So use that as a way to bolster your belief in yourself that your company actually has value. The other thing is, finally, when you look at backlog over time and you plot it on that chart, you're going to know what's normal. Because today you probably have no idea what a normal backlog looks like in your own company. So measure it, find out what normal is, and then you'll know when things are not normal. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Palachuk wishing you the best of luck in your managed service business.
Please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell so you can be notified when we post a new video.